Divine timing is perfect. No matter how much we plan, strategize, or push forward, there are moments when things simply don't align the way we expect them to. We pray, we work hard, and we do everything right, yet the results seem delayed. It's in those moments of waiting that frustration creeps in. Doubt whispers, maybe it's not meant to be. Fear tells us we've missed our chance, but the truth is God's timing is never off. His plan is always on schedule, even when it feels like nothing is happening. Think about it. If we had everything we wanted exactly when we wanted it, we wouldn't appreciate the process. We wouldn't develop patience, resilience, or faith. We'd become people who only trust God when life is easy, but that's not real faith. Faith is trusting God when everything seems uncertain. Faith is believing that even when doors are closed, even when opportunities seem out of reach, God is still working. There's a reason certain things take time. If a blessing comes too soon before we're ready, we might mishandle it. A person who is given a position of leadership without first learning how to lead with wisdom will eventually fail. A relationship that comes before personal growth might not survive. A financial breakthrough without discipline can lead to loss instead of abundance. God delays things not to punish us, but to prepare us. Consider a farmer planting seeds. Once the seed is in the ground, the farmer doesn't dig it up every day to check its progress. He trusts that in the right season, the seed will sprout, grow, and bear fruit. But imagine if the farmer became impatient and tried to force growth before its time. He would ruin the entire harvest. That's exactly what happens when we try to rush ahead of God. We must remind ourselves that what seems like a delay is often divine protection. Sometimes God is keeping us from something that would harm us. Other times, He is aligning circumstances so that when the right gate opens, it leads to something far greater than we imagined. Our job is to trust, to be faithful in the waiting, because when the time is right, the gate will open and we'll realize that God's plan was perfect all along. Closed doors are not rejections, they are redirections. Too often when something doesn't go as planned, we assume we've failed or that God has forgotten us. We see a missed opportunity as a loss, but in reality, it's often divine intervention. What if the job you didn't get would have led you to stress and burnout? What if the relationship that ended was protecting you from heartbreak? What if the business deal that fell through was steering you towards something greater? When God closes a door, He's not saying you're not good enough. He's saying, I have something better. But in the moment, it's hard to see. Disappointment clouds our judgment. We start questioning our worth and wondering if we're on the wrong path. But that's where faith comes in. Faith is trusting that even when you don't understand, God is still in control. It's believing that every closed door is a step closer to the right one. Think about a traveler on a journey. If a road is blocked, does he stop and give up? No, he finds another route. He keeps moving forward because he knows there's still a destination ahead. Life works the same way. A closed door isn't the end, it's a detour leading you to something greater. Look back at your life. How many times did something not work out, only for you to realize later that it was a blessing in disguise? Maybe you were devastated over a missed opportunity, only to later find an open door that was far better. That's how God works. He removes the wrong option so we don't settle. He redirects us to the right path so that when we arrive, we are exactly where we need to be. Instead of seeing rejection as a failure, see it as guidance. Every no is setting you up for the right yes. Every door that closes is leading you to the one that will change everything. So, don't dwell on what didn't happen. Don't waste energy knocking on doors God has already locked. Lift your head, trust the process, and move forward. Because when the right gate opens, you'll look back and realize that every closed door was actually a blessing. Worry drains your energy, but faith fuels your journey. Every time you dwell on what could go wrong, you weaken your ability to move forward. Fear keeps you stuck, replaying worst-case scenarios in your mind. It makes you hesitate, second-guessing every decision as if one wrong step will ruin everything. But faith operates differently. Faith pushes you forward, even when the path isn't clear. Faith says, I don't see the way, but I trust that God is leading me. When you allow worry to take control, you live in constant anxiety. You start believing that everything depends on you, your strength, your wisdom, your timing. But the truth is, you were never meant to carry that weight. Worry doesn't change the future. It only steals your peace in the present. It makes you restless, sleepless, and distracted, yet it accomplishes nothing. Jesus himself said in Matthew 6:27, "Can any one of you by worrying add a single hour to your life?" The answer is no. Worry produces nothing but stress, while faith produces results. Think about a child learning to walk. They don't sit down and worry about falling. They don't overanalyze whether their legs are strong enough. They simply take a step, trusting that their parent is nearby to catch them. That's how we should approach life, with the faith of a child, knowing that God is always there to support us. Even if we stumble, He won't let us fall beyond His reach. Fear makes you think that the worst will happen, but faith reminds you that God has already gone ahead of you. He sees what you cannot. He knows the perfect timing, the right people, and the best opportunities for your life. When you let go of worry and embrace faith, you position yourself for His blessings. You shift your mindset from doubt to expectation, from hesitation to confidence. Every great breakthrough, every open door, and every divine opportunity comes to those who trust instead of worry. The next time fear tries to creep in, remind yourself, God has never failed me before, and He won't start now. Walk forward, even if you can't see the full picture yet. Faith is taking the first step, knowing that God will take care of the rest. God's plan always surpasses human understanding. We often have our own ideas about how life should go, when things should happen, who should be involved, and what the outcome should look like. But no matter how much we plan, there are moments when God's direction completely surprises us. What we thought was the best opportunity turns out to be small compared to what He had in store. What we thought was a setback was actually a set-up for something greater. The problem is we want to see the whole picture before we trust the process. We want God to lay out every step in advance so we feel secure. But faith doesn't work that way. Faith requires trust even when things don't make sense. Isaiah 55:8 reminds us, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." God sees the full picture. He knows the connections, the timing, and the challenges ahead. What may seem like an unanswered prayer or a delayed blessing is actually Him orchestrating something far better than we could imagine. If Joseph had been freed from prison too soon, he would have missed the opportunity to become second in command in Egypt. If the Israelites had taken the shorter route to the promised land, they wouldn't have been prepared to handle the battles ahead. If Jesus had avoided the cross, humanity wouldn't have received salvation. When things don't happen the way you expect, don't assume God has abandoned you. His plan is unfolding in ways you can't yet see. You may feel like you're going the long way around, but in reality, He is positioning you for something greater. The right gate will open when the time is right, and when it does, you'll look back and understand why certain doors had to remain shut. The delay wasn't denial, it was divine preparation. Trust that what's ahead is far greater than what you're leaving behind. Keep walking in faith, because when God's plan is revealed, you'll see that it was worth the wait. Your obedience is the key that unlocks your blessing. Many people wait for God to open doors while doing nothing to prepare themselves. They pray for opportunities but fail to position themselves to receive them. The truth is, God doesn't just drop blessings into our laps without requiring action from us. He honors faith, but faith is not passive. It moves, it acts, and it obeys even when things don't make sense. When God tells you to move, don't hesitate. When He tells you to wait, don't force doors open. Many times, We struggle not because God isn't working, but because we resist His direction. We choose comfort over calling, fear over faith, and doubt over obedience. But obedience is the bridge between where you are and where God wants to take you. Look at the story of Noah. God told him to build an ark when there was no sign of rain. People laughed at him, mocked him, and probably called him crazy. But Noah didn't wait for visible proof. He obeyed. And because of his obedience, he and his family were saved while others perished. Imagine if he had delayed. Imagine if he had questioned God's timing. The flood would have come, but he wouldn't have been prepared. The same principle applies to us. When God asks you to step out in faith, He isn't asking for your understanding. He's asking for your obedience. Maybe He's calling you to start something new, but fear is holding you back. Maybe He's asking you to walk away from something that's hindering your growth, but doubt is keeping you stuck. The question is, will you trust Him enough to obey? Delayed obedience is still disobedience. The longer you hesitate, the more you risk missing what God has for you. But when you move in obedience, even when it's uncomfortable, you position yourself for the right doors to open. The right gate won't just be about you. It will lead to blessings that impact those around you. God is always faithful to His promises, but He expects us to do our part. So stop waiting for everything to be perfect. Stop overanalyzing and start obeying. When you take a step in faith, you'll realize that the gate God opens will be beyond anything you ever imagined. Patience is the bridge to your breakthrough. In a world that glorifies speed, waiting feels like a burden. We want quick results, instant answers, and immediate success. But God doesn't operate on human timelines. His process requires patience because what He is preparing for you is too valuable to be rushed. The longer the wait, the greater the purpose. Waiting is not a sign of delay, it's a season of preparation. A farmer does not plant a seed and expect a harvest the next day. He understands that growth takes time. The roots must develop before the fruit can appear. The same principle applies to your life. God is strengthening your foundation so that when your breakthrough comes, you can sustain it. Many people give up too soon. They get frustrated when things don't happen as quickly as they hoped, so they walk away, not realizing they were on the edge of a blessing. Patience isn't just about waiting, it's about trusting. It's about knowing that just because you don't see movement doesn't mean nothing is happening. God is working behind the scenes, aligning the right people, the right opportunities, and the right circumstances. Look at David. He was anointed as king when he was just a young shepherd, but he didn't step into the throne immediately. He went through years of trials, battles, and challenges before God placed him in his destined position. If he had become king too soon, he wouldn't have been ready for the responsibility. His patience allowed God to refine him, strengthen him, and prepare him for what was to come. Impatience leads to bad decisions. When you rush ahead of God, you risk entering doors that were never meant for you. A premature blessing can become a burden, but when you wait on God's timing, the right gate will open effortlessly and it will come with peace, provision, and purpose. Your waiting season is not wasted time. It is God's training ground. Instead of complaining, use this time to grow, to develop, and to strengthen your faith. The gate will open when the time is right, and when it does, you will look back and realize that every moment of waiting was worth it. Stay patient. Stay faithful. Because what God has for you is greater than anything you could have rushed into on your own.